What really is the value of tarot? When it comes to other people's projections of what tarot is and is not, it is a huge spectrum. There's people who live and die by it, and then there's people who think it's just a bunch of hoopla. And then in the middle somewhere, you also get people who think it's a nice, fun thing to do. Maybe you find somebody who's doing it at the beach, and you're just like, yeah, let me go do a fun little tarot reading. You drive by psychic shops, and you'll see little signs for $5 psychic readings and tarot readings. But to me, tarot goes way beyond just being a deck of cards. It goes way beyond just a fun little reading. It actually is a tool to help you build essential life skills, and that's what we're going to get into in today's episode. Hi, I'm Jen Sui. I'm known as the Soul Whisperer, and I'm on a mission to help bring humanity back to humans. As a certified life coach, RTT hypnotherapist, and tarot practitioner, it was really hard for me to actually come out of the broom closet and own the fact that I did tarot, and that not only did I do tarot for myself, but that I found an incredibly powerful tool to use with my clients. You know how nail techs and hairdressers always say that their work is more than just nails, more than just hair? It's a relationship that they're building. People go to them and they're almost like their therapist. There's a deeper understanding of what the client is going through, why they're coming to you, and the relationship that's happening in between where the service is just kind of the medium. Well, tarot is kind of similar in that. If you've ever been curious about tarot or tried it for yourself, maybe you've gotten a reading here and there, maybe you have a friend who's really into it, then you know that tarot can be an incredible pathway to come back home to yourself. And that's really the pure intention of how tarot is supposed to be used. Tarot unfortunately gets a lot of projections. It is a very misunderstood tool, and just like being the black sheep in the family or being the weirdo in school, right? People will put a lot of their projections onto you without even getting to know you first. This is one of my biggest frustrations with people in general and just how humans work, is that we are so quick to judge without actually understanding. People want to write off things like tarot and astrology as just a bunch of BS, but they don't actually know what they're even calling BS. They're typically looking at very surface level things to judge, just like how you would judge a book by its cover, right? You would judge a person based off of how they look, how much money they make, the type of car that they're driving, the title of their job, but you don't actually know anything about the substance of that person, the values that they have, what they're going through, their beliefs, their attitudes, what made them believe the way that they believe. It's really similar here, where people don't actually understand the system before judging it. People don't understand that astrology goes way beyond your sun sign, that there's a whole birth chart. There's 12 different houses, there's different planets, there's different degrees in which your sign can be in a specific house, in a specific planet, and then the bigger landscape of the stars, of how things are actually moving, and the transits that we're in as a collective, and then also your own personal transits. And if it sounds like I'm speaking a different language, it's because it kind of is like speaking a different language. That's the whole point. Its nuance is complex, it has history to it, and it goes way beyond what people typically see. Tarot is no exception. Like, did you know that tarot actually has roots in Chinese history, because it was based off playing cards and tiles? While the first deck of tarot as we know it came from Renaissance Italy, the conception of tarot actually goes way beyond that. And while you might find devout Christians be very afraid of tarot, thinking that it's a tool of the devil, that you shouldn't be talking to spirits and all these things, it's not a Ouija board. And in fact, tarot was actually created with a lot of Christian imagery and context behind it. It was actually only available to very affluent Christians and noblemen who were Christian. So how it turned into this whole thing where you're worshiping the devil or you're doing something that God wouldn't approve of is really beyond me. Now, thankfully for me, because I am not Christian, I do not practice any specific religion, tarot has come away from that and really become a tool for spirituality, in which for me is a practice of being connected to yourself, to the world around you, to life itself. Now, I really encourage anybody who is curious about tarot to really let themselves go into their practice, to really get to understand tarot and use it for themselves, because like I said, it builds essential life skills. The entire process of going through a reading, even just doing one for yourself, requires you to really trust yourself, use your intuition, and then most importantly, actually make aligned decisions that come after that. Just like how reading a personal development book or understanding more about psychology can really help you create more self-awareness, it's also what you're going to do with that awareness, right? It's not enough to know that you are, for example, anxiously attached. It's also understanding, well, what does secure attachment look like? And what in that resonates with you? What are the experiments that you're going to run within yourself, with other people, that are going to help guide you in that direction? And tarot is one of those tools that can help you get to understand yourself and figure out your next experiment. Tarot is a spiritual tool that has a lot of practical use, and in this video I'm going to share with you 5 essential life skills that I think tarot really helps you build and practice. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of them, and then I'm also going to be putting all of these in the timestamps below so that you can come back to this video as a resource for you and review it at any time that you'd like. First, tarot really helps you self-reflect and actually ask very good, clear, intentional questions. We really underestimate how important it is to learn how to ask questions because we're not taught how to do this growing up. The second is how to take responsibility and accountability for your life. We'll talk about the differences between accountability and responsibility. The third is how to be decisive and not fear uncertainty. This is huge for anybody who's actually trying to live a fulfilling, authentic life, but especially if you have big goals, big visions, big dreams. The fourth is how to trust yourself and stay in your power. And the fifth is how to listen to your intuition and take bold action. Again, if you're a visionary of any kind, if you are really trying to build something new in this world, if you're trying to break out of old patterns, then you're going to need to do things differently, which is going to go against maybe your status quo or the status quo of the world. And while I'm making this video about tarot, this really applies to all the cosmology systems like astrology and human design. And my favorite quote that exists about this is when J.P. Morgan said, "Millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do." Now, if you remember what I said about the whole process of tarot really being this practice to help you build your intuition and build these essential skills, all of this actually starts before you even pull a card. Now, the precursor to actually reading tarot accurately is to have confidence in yourself. Because in order to trust what you're actually picking up on and what your intuition is showing you in the cards, you actually have to be confident that you know that you can trust yourself. You have to be confident in your energy. You have to be confident in your use of the actual tool. It's kind of like if you were to try to flip a pancake, and if you're not confident in your ability to actually do a full flip, you're going to be really timid and the pancake is going to flip over itself, right? Like you're not going to get a full flip. You have to really go for it and just commit to the bit in order to get the result that you want. And the same thing applies here in tarot, and the same thing applies to life. You gotta commit to the bit. So the first thing I want to encourage you to do is come out of the broom closet. It's really funny because I'm making this video in June of 2025, which is Pride Month. And really similarly with sexuality, if you can't own who it is that you truly are, who you're attracted to in your sexuality, you're going to be hiding away a part of your authentic self. You're not going to be able to fully express and be embodied in who you are. The same thing applies to your beliefs and your spirituality. If you don't allow yourself to fully step out of the broom closet to own your woo-woo, knowing that, yeah, sure, like other people might have judgments of you, maybe you're risking some relationships. At the end of the day, it all serves you because you being genuinely who you are is the greatest privilege in life. Me coming into tarot, not just using it for myself, but actually telling people about it, being excited about it, knowing that it brings me joy, and letting other people know that I do it professionally is a huge reflection of my confidence in myself that has grown over the years. Because I'll be honest with you, I was really embarrassed to tell people that I was into tarot. It's honestly probably taken me the 1,000 readings that I've done for other people in order for me to be so confident in telling people that I do tarot professionally. And mind you, those 1,000 readings were not free. I was paid for probably 980 of them. So it just goes to show you, even though I was already practicing as a professional tarot practitioner, I was literally getting paid for it. People were asking me for my opinions, and people still ask me to this day my opinions and my insight into cards that maybe they've pulled for themselves or other readers have given to them. It was really a process of me gathering enough evidence for myself that this was a legitimate practice, that this was a helpful tool, and that it was okay that I was doing it. It's like it wasn't enough that it made me happy to do it and that I believed in it. It's like I felt like a responsibility to clean up everyone else's judgments about it. And I felt really similarly when I went vegan when I was 18. It was like the first big decision that I ever made for myself that went so against the norm because it was just something that I really believed. It was a way that I was changing my life, that really nobody else needed to be impacted by my decision to go vegan. But it somehow also felt like it was a decision that was affecting everyone around me because now it wasn't just this is how I live my life. It was everybody asking me, well, where do you get your protein from? Or my mom still thinking it's a phase after 9 years, and people being worried about like what that meant if you had to give up your culture because now you're eating plant-based. It was cleaning up so many people's misconceptions of it, and after years of doing advocacy work and really actually trying to build momentum in the movement because I really believed in the value system behind it, I really stepped away from feeling like I needed to make this into a conversation with anybody who didn't ask. And even the people who did ask, it was really discernment of what is their question and what is their intention for me to really gauge whether or not I wanted to put my energy into talking to them about it. And I think this is honestly a very natural progression when you're making any big changes in your life, especially when they are values based. And it's a true expression of your virtues and your soul essence that now you are, finding these certain things meaningful and you're living your life in a certain way. I'm not saying that you have to adhere to it your entire life, but that your soul essence, your virtues have really guided you to express through something like veganism, something like tarot, something like even your sexuality, right? And owning a label of who it is that you are. I think the journey starts with you needing to kind of go through that process of letting go of the old identity, letting this new one take form. And then when you embody it, it really becomes a natural part of who it is that you are. Part of that might just be that you feel the need to defend yourself. You might feel the need to justify. Eventually, you'll see that you don't need to convince anybody, and you're not even needing to convince yourself anymore, because the things that you like, the person that you are, the beliefs that you have, they're as neutral to you as the sky is blue. If you find something helpful to you, if you feel it be resonant with who you are, if it helps you feel like you are living in integrity with yourself, then that should be the only thing that matters. If it strikes a nerve with somebody else in a negative way, that just means that it is bringing up something that is hitting at a core of their own identity, their own virtues. And maybe they're not very solid in their own beliefs, which is why they feel the need to attack you, judge you, and make you have to argue with them or defend. You don't need to engage with that. People are on their own journeys and they'll come to their own awareness at different points in time. But at the end of the day, you can't be anyone else other than yourself. It's going to bleed through whether you're trying to or not. So might as well choose the process of being authentic. And I want to make this clear. This is not about championing tarot itself as a tool. This is about championing self-trust. I keep saying how tarot is a tool, but there's really no way for me to underemphasize that, because just like how the Bible is a tool for you to practice your religion, and religion is a tool for you to feel connected to something bigger than yourself, be connected to the divine or to a community, it's the same thing. It's never about the thing itself. It's about the way that it makes you feel and how you're going to use it. So really the first lesson that you learn in how to use tarot is to be curious and own your desire. So when you're leaning into your curiosities and your desires to learn tarot, all of the fears, judgments, and insecurities are going to show up. All of the projections and the judgments are going to show up for you. Everything that you're afraid that other people are going to think of you for being into tarot, for doing it for yourself, are going to show up, and it is your opportunity to have your own back, to be confident in yourself, and to trust yourself through the process. Because when you can say it with your chest that this is something that you're into, that this is what you do, that you're curious about it, you don't have to justify your position, you don't have to defend yourself. That is going to be how you know that you are genuinely confident in yourself, because you are allowed to just be and to believe in what you believe. The first question that you're going to find yourself asking isn't even necessarily the question of doing a reading. It's actually going to be, how are you going to choose a deck? Now, I have an entire blog post written on how you can actually go about choosing a deck for yourself, and also how you can gift one to a friend. And I'll leave that in the description box below, or you can go to my site at jencui.com, jencui.com/blog, and you'll see that article right there. Now, it's really funny. I've been told by other people that they were told in order to get a tarot deck, you have to be gifted it, that it's like not good to buy your own deck. And to that, I say that's a bunch of hoopla. You can for sure buy your own deck. In fact, I recommend that, because this is a practice of trusting your own intuition, of being able to go to a store and feel into the different energies of the different decks and find which one that you resonate with best. For me, my first tarot deck was the Mystical Cats Tarot, because I loved cats and I thought tarot was really fun. To this day, it is one of my favorite decks. It is actually the only deck that I exclusively use for myself. I don't allow myself to read for anybody else with it, actually, because I want that deck to be very, very cleanly attuned to my energy and my energy only. Now, if you really don't know where to start and you want to just learn from the ground up, you can always go with the traditional Rider-Waite deck. So the traditional Rider-Waite is the foundational deck that you're going to see every other artist create images based off of the traditional deck, and then from there you can also create your own interpretations and meanings because of that. Now, essential life skill number 2 that you're going to learn as you take this journey into tarot is how to self-reflect and ask good questions. I know that I said that there was going to be 5 essential skills that we cover, but really there's going to be 6, because this was a bonus one, the one that is a prerequisite to everything else, which is to be curious and to own your desire. Now, the lesson here is how to ask a good question, and I have an entire Substack post that you can read on how to stay in the question. And this post really came up because after doing over 1,000 tarot readings and over like 1,500 total like sessions with people, after working with people one-on-one for over a decade in my life and for getting coached myself, I have learned a thing or two about how to ask a good question and how much you can actually tell about where a person is at and what they're going through by just the question that they ask. Because if you are coming into a session or you're going to go pull some cards and you're coming in hot and bothered, you are angry, you are frustrated about something, if you are experiencing a lot of grief, if you are feeling discombobulated, that's all going to show up in your reading. That's all going to show up in the way that you ask your question and the answers that you're trying to get. Because if you're asking questions like, should I quit my job? Is this the right person for me? Is my boyfriend cheating on me, right? These are all questions that are coming from a very charged place. So when you are learning how to read, this lesson of how to check your energy and then be very mindful of the question that you ask is going to be invaluable. And mindfulness is that space in between when something happens and then your response to it. If there is no space in between, then you are being reactive. However, when you can widen that gap, then that's going to give you the time to be mindful, to be able to respond with intention. You're going to have to really discern for yourself what is a worthwhile question to ask and why are you asking it. When you do this, you are actually going to be able to be in your power when you ask your questions. Now, unsurprisingly, the two biggest categories that people will come to me for is love and career readings. And within love, there's really two camps of people. There are the people who are in a relationship who are wondering whether or not it is the right relationship for them. And then there's the people who are single and potentially wanting to be in a relationship and wanting to understand what they need to do in order to receive that. Within career, there's also, again, two camps of people. There's the people who have their own businesses or have their own careers and they are wanting to see how they can grow it, how they can continue evolving with it. And then there's the people who are kind of doubtful of where they are at in their business, if they should even start a business, if they should go down their career path as an artist, a creative, or if they should leave their job, right, for something that they're more passionate about, because chances are they don't have the passion, they don't have this calling, this purpose in what it is that they're doing. So I'm going to just use the people who come to me for love readings as an example. So what I'll do with them is on the first pass of their question, I will help them go deeper into what it is that they're actually wanting to ask. Because if they're wanting to know whether or not this person is the right person for them, I need to understand where they're coming from, right? What is the context of their situation? What is the context of their paradigm that they're operating in? So I want to understand what kind of relationship do they really want? What is the value of a relationship to them? Like, why do they even want one? Regardless of the person, right? What do they believe about love? What do they believe about their role in love, their role in a relationship? And then once you understand all of that, you understand kind of the context of the situation, that's where you can formulate a better question to ask that is pointed to actually what they want to know, right? Like how they can align with the relationship that they want to bring in, how they can trust themselves in the decision that they want to make, because chances are they've already made a decision or they have a lot of evidence for the decision that they want to make, but then they're using all this other evidence to justify staying in a relationship or vice versa. Now, in tarot, there are such a thing as bad questions. And these questions are really going to be anything that pertains to needing a medical professional, a attorney, or anything else that is like a financial advisor that is not what you should be going to tarot for. In order for you to use tarot in those areas, you have to be really asking good questions that are intentional with what you're trying to do, not like, should I sue this person, or am I going to get this amount of money in my divorce, or am I going to survive this like treatment, like crazy questions like that. Don't be going to a tarot reader for that. And this is also where I think tarot gets a bad rep, is in commercial tarot you're going to find people who come with really bad questions that outsource their authority to the reader. And people will build up this relationship with their reader that is kind of unethical. And there are people who are psychics and intuitives who are readers who kind of lean into this because they are financially incentivized to, right? And not just only financially, but they're also just incentivized to be seen as this expert. And they kind of are in this power trip of, oh yeah, this person really trusts me and relies on me because I know, or like, this is what I'm seeing, and they're living their life according to what you are telling them. You don't ever want to be caught in this situation, whether you are a reader or a seeker. And this really happens because people have not done their due diligence and their discernment from everything that I've talked about before this, right? Where you needing to be confident who it is that you are, you needing to be intentional with what question you're asking and grounding your energy so you're not frantically asking like, is he cheating on me, or should I sell my house, or should I move to this area? You really want to be able to come from a place of knowing what is going to be helpful for you and what you're trying to get out of a session. Now, quick little story time to exemplify this. When I first started doing tarot, I wanted to really lean into doing it professionally. So, after a few months of doing it for myself and for my clients, I decided to apply to be a tarot reader at my local metaphysical occult shop. And when I went in to go do an interview for the shop, the owner was asking me, first off, well, why do I want to be a reader? And very valid question, right? So I went in and described about how tarot really helped me, how it's been helping my clients, how I see it as a really incredible tool to help you understand yourself, your situation, and to gather more data so that you can go and live a more authentic, a more aligned life. Now, this was great because he was telling me how this is how tarot is meant to be used. It's meant to be used as a spiritual tool, and how I was really acting as a spiritual advisor. Now, the issue is that all these people who come to do readings are not looking for spiritual advising. They are looking for someone to basically tell them what to do. They are the ones who are coming to readers asking like, hey, yeah, is my boyfriend cheating on me? I don't know why that one's just so common, but people are very concerned about what their partners are doing or what somebody else is doing, what their boss thinks of them. Like, all these things that really outsource their own authority to other people and are not focused on themselves. And it's really coming from a place of victimhood, right? Where, it's like, what are you going to do about that? Like, people aren't interested in like, how can I communicate better with my partner, or how can I like have this difficult conversation, or how do I stay grounded in my decision. People are more interested in what other people are doing and what they're thinking. So, long story short, I did not end up working with that shop to be a tarot practitioner, and I learned a very valuable lesson of integrity in that, because that was just not how I wanted to do readings. Now, this leads me perfectly into essential life skill number 3 that you'll learn in tarot, which is how to be self responsible and take accountability for your own life. Like I said, if you're asking bad questions, you're going to get bad answers. And it's not even that tarot is going to tell you the wrong thing, it's that you're going to be coming from such a charged place that the answer is not going to be serving you. So, when you learn how to ask a good question, right, because you've been able to take responsibility for your life, for your decisions, for where you're at, for where it is that you want to go, for your dreams and your desires, that's going to be a really powerful place to then be able to make decisions and take accountability for those decisions. So when you can take accountability for the relationship that you're in, your career that you're in, the state of your health, right, the state of your spirituality, and okay, I did everything as best as I could with the information that I had at the time, with how I was feeling at the time, with where my nervous system was at the time, and this is where I'm at now, right? Now you have the self-awareness. It's like, what are you going to do with that? And this is what all cosmology will help you do. And cosmology is the study of the stars, it's the study of the cosmos. So things like tarot, astrology, human design. If you're using these tools properly, what you're going to see is that you are being guided by the stars, but you are not controlled by them. In this 3D world, you know that if you just sit and meditate in your room all day, every day, no one's just going to come knock on your door and give you all the opportunities that you want. Your soulmate is not going to randomly show up, right? You have to put yourself in a position to receive what it is that you want to receive, the abundance that you want to receive, the opportunities, the relationship, the good health that you want, right? You have to go out and actually do it, because we are in this 3D world. So what all of these tools are going to do is help you gather information. And what tarot is just that, it's information. When you are asking a question and then pulling a card, you're gathering information, you're interpreting this data that's on the card for you to then run another experiment with. And this is why I say science and spirituality are two sides of the same coin, because it's all based on these theories. It's based on hypotheses. It's based on these questions that you're asking and you're wondering for yourself, and you're going to ask a question, gather data, gather evidence, right? Pull cards, run this experiment, and then it's up to you to actually interpret the data. It's up to you to come to a conclusion so that you can ask the next question. Good experiments in science don't just end with this is the conclusion. It's always going to end with this is the conclusion that we've gathered from this study, but based off of this conclusion and based off of our findings, this is the next question that we need to ask, right? This is how we need to validate, continue further into our understanding and our discovery of whatever this theory that we have is. So in tarot, it's the same thing. You currently in your life, in your love life, in your career, in your health, in your spiritual practice, in your business, whatever it may be, you have a question, you're in a situation where you may feel stuck and confused, and you get clarity through this reading. Now it's up to you to actually go and take action to get further clarity, to actually see what it's all about, and then to move beyond that. It's not here for you to live and die by this is what's going to happen. It's not a future predictive tool, which is one of the biggest misconceptions of it, that it's here to tell you what's going to happen and that the future is set in stone. It's not. I believe in free will. I think we all need to believe in free will to an extent in order to live a healthy, happy, fulfilling life. And this leads me to essential skill number 4 in tarot, which is how to be decisive and not fear the unknown. The lesson here is really how to take quick action so that you can get to a point of clarity. Humans are wired to be in fear. We are wired to fear uncertainty. We are wired to want to stay in our comfort bubble, and that's going to be the biggest thing that is going to keep you stuck in where you're at. What's also going to keep you stuck is thinking that you need to figure it all on your own, that you need to do it all yourself, that if you really could do this thing, if you really wanted to lose weight, if you really wanted to be in a relationship, if you really wanted to get this career, whatever it is, that you should just be able to do it on your own and you would have done it by now if it was meant to be. This is all BS. Oftentimes, we need to run more experiments. We need to ask better questions. We need to ask different questions, and we need to try different things. We need to gather perspective. We need to gather different evidence for what it is that we want to believe, and we need to actually allow ourselves to jump in and do the thing. And what happens is fear will hold us back. And that is one of the biggest blessings that I think tarot can give us, is to be able to trust yourself, to build that muscle of, this is what I see, this is the next experiment that I run, and let me go run and let me go see what happens. And if you have been somebody who has wanted to go to a tarot reader or do a reading for yourself, just go and do it. Because if you've, again, done these steps that have been a precursor to this lesson, which is really to lean into your own curiosity, to trust yourself, right? To ask good questions and to have that discernment, then regardless of what happens in the reading, regardless of what somebody says, you're going to be able to take that with a grain of salt, filter it through, your own intuition, and then be able to take action from that place. Don't stay stuck just figuring it out. Just go and do the reading. You're probably costing yourself so much more time, money, energy sitting on something than just going and to do a reading on it. And I say this all the time, but just like how you can read a personal development book, learn all the things about psychology, and know everything in theory, until you actually put it into practice, it's just awareness. The value of awareness is what you do with it afterwards. So once you actually do a reading for yourself or get a reading from somebody else, actually use that information to go and take action. Now, I had to re-record pretty much 90% of this episode, but in the first pass of the recording, I had split the tarot deck to show you guys, and the card that had come up was the 8 of Wands, and it was really serendipitous. It was really fun. I wish I had the footage, but I'm still going to talk about the 8 of Wands because this is a card of really listening to your passions, listening to your intuition, and taking quick action when you see it, right? It's being divinely guided, and so when you're somebody who is able to take quick action, not from a reckless standpoint, but from a standpoint of this is how you're really feeling, right? Do something when you're excited about it, because chances are excitement is going to pass, right? If you really want to go and make cookies, just go and make cookies, right? If you really want to talk about a new offering that you have, go talk about it. Don't wait until there's like a good time to do it, because that will pass. When you lean on your excitement on things, when you lean on your intuition, when you lean on your passion, when you lean into that feeling of this is what I want to do and this is why I'm doing it, you are building up this trust in yourself. You're building up this audacity in yourself. You're building up this ability to make decisions quicker and get to a point of clarity quicker, which is going to get you to where you want to be quicker. And it's not like it's a race to get to any specific point, but the point is to live as much life as possible. And you cannot live life when you're living in fear. Oftentimes, people are actually afraid to do a tarot reading, and they're afraid because they don't want to see something that they don't want to see. They don't want to hear something they don't want to hear. But the thing is, when it's the truth, it doesn't matter whether or not you want to admit it to yourself. It doesn't change the fact that it's true. What tarot is doing is it's reading your current energy field, and rarely is it ever going to be doing these productive things of like, this is going to happen, and you have no chance of changing it. What tarot will do is it will reveal the truth to you. It is a mirror for what's going on. If you are in a relationship that you do not want to hold on to anymore, but you are finding all the evidence to justify staying in it, it cannot change the fact that you just do not want to be in it, and you cannot make yourself want to be in it more than you already do. If you know something is true, if you know your feelings about your job or your relationship or your health or where you're living, if you know that you're dissatisfied in something, tarot showing you that that is truly what's going on is not going to change the fact that that's how you feel. And if you are so convicted in a belief that you have, and tarot shows you something different, right, something that's opposing, it doesn't matter that it's showing you something opposing. If you truly believe in it, it's just going to make you more convicted in your belief. So you don't have to be afraid of tarot. You don't have to be afraid of what it's going to say, and you don't have to be afraid of what's coming up after in life. It's going to just allow you to lean into your truth so that you can actually pull desire from it, you can pull courage from it, you can pull audacity from it. And when you do that, you can take bold action towards the direction that you want to go in your life. And this brings me to essential skill number 5 that you will learn in tarot, which is how to trust yourself and to stay in your power. Now, tarot is a way to really communicate with the divine. It's a way to communicate with source, with God, with yourself, with your soul, with your spirit team, whatever it is that you want to say. But it's a way for you to connect deeper to an energy that goes beyond everything that we can see with our senses, everything that we can touch, everything that we can say, right? It goes beyond words, and it's really like a feeling that you get. Just like how good music or good art is going to make you feel a certain way, or the reason why you're with your partner is because of a way that they make you feel, and you kind just know it intuitively, you can't really justify it. It's the same thing that's happening here. What tarot allows you to do is have a channel of communication with this higher version of yourself or source or whatever, again, you want to call it. When you do this, you are building self-trust. You are building that level of discernment. You are building awareness with yourself. You're building a relationship with yourself and with the divine. Because at the end of the day, we're all living in our own reality and our own delusions, and it is up to you to really create the reality that you want to create. Traditionally, tarot has 78 cards, so that is 78 pieces of wisdom, of lessons, of meaning, of understanding that you get to really imbue for yourself. You can go beyond just what the cards mean traditionally and actually assign your own personal meaning to these cards. This is a tool that you can kind of create your own communication, your own language with the divine with. Just like how a hummingbird can mean one thing to one person and another thing to another, this is one of those tools, one of those channels that you can create your own language with. I remember when I was 16, my mom and I went to the car dealership to get me a car for my birthday. And the dealership that we went to, the person that we worked with, her name was Maria, and she was so sweet. Her mom had passed recently, and her mom told her that she would come back to her as a dragonfly. And oftentimes when she would go to work, dragonflies would be around. And there was one day where she was in a meeting and a dragonfly had found its way, flew in through the doors, and was buzzing all around. And her coworkers who knew this about her had caught the dragonfly in a container and left it on her desk so that she could see it when she got out of her meeting. And so when she did, she was so happy to see this dragonfly, let it outside, and she got that message, right? That was her mom. That was her knowing that she was supported, that she was, not alone. It just like uplifted her. And again, it's like these symbols go beyond just words. It goes beyond just like, hey, you're doing a good job. It's like that, having that comforting hand on your shoulder that's going to make you feel like, yes, you can do this thing. And when you have like angel numbers, when you have tarot, when you have animal spirit guides, when certain plants or whatever symbols, numbers mean anything to you, that just makes life so much more magical, so much more fun to live in. And as somebody who used to be a complete nihilist, a complete pessimist in life, somebody who was deeply suicidal for many, many years of my life, I can tell you life is way more fun when there's meaning to it. Because like everything in this world that exists, it is all neutral. It just is what it is. There's no special meaning behind anything really until we assign meaning to it. And it's that type of love, that type of special energy that you put your soul essence into that makes life more meaningful, that makes something fulfilling, that makes something worthwhile. So don't be afraid to play around with tarot, to play around with these signs and symbols, and to have this own language with the divine, with the cosmos, because it's going to serve you. And this leads me to essential life skill number 6, which is to sharpen your intuition and to take bold action. While I believe that the divine has its own timeline and we're on that universal timing, we can also speed up the timeline by being bolder, by being more courageous, by being more audacious. And what tarot really helps you do, especially when you have this whole language with the divine, is that it helps you stay open-minded. It helps you not take yourself too seriously. It helps you see things from a different perspective. Because once you're rigid in something, then it's really hard for you to grow in that area. This goes back to my virtues, values, and visions philosophy, this framework that I created to really help you make decisions that are in alignment for yourself for your highest and best. When you're really attached to a vision, right, a specific outcome that you want, a specific way that you want your life to look, it's going to show through rigidity. It's going to narrow your options in your life path, and you're going to probably come across a lot of resistance to it because it's not coming from an authentic, genuine place. You can have the same vision for your life of wanting abundance, wanting security, wanting love, wanting community, wanting good health, but it's about the way that you're going to do it. And in this other way, when you're living soul led, when you're leading by your virtues and your soul essence, you're starting with who it is that you are, right? You've already done this work from these previous essential skills that we talked about of being confident in who it is that you are and being able to self-reflect and taking responsibility and accountability for your life, knowing what it is that you want, knowing where you're going to go, knowing your integrity is at the forefront of how you're going to make decisions. Well, when you know that, then you can apply yourself to the values that you have. You can apply yourself to your career, you can apply yourself to your relationships, you can apply yourself to tarot and not outsource your authority to the cards or to somebody else, to astrology, to say, like, this is inevitably what's going to happen, fear what's going to happen, or feel like you are out of control in your life, but you're actually able to take charge in your life. That open-mindedness and that willingness to really trust and lean into your intuition is going to lead you to a bigger, more beautiful life and a more fun journey overall, where things are going to happen that you didn't expect to happen. Things can go better than you expected. Things are not going to pan out the way that you wanted to, but it's always going to lead you to that next experiment, the next door that's going to open, and the next phase of your life that you're supposed to be in. Now, if you want to dive deeper into how to use tarot for yourself, what the cards mean, how to read them, how to pull spreads, how to clear your energy, and all that jazz, then I have a really exciting announcement for you. I'm leading a 5-hour immersive tarot workshop on June 15th from noon to 5 p.m. at Tia Shiloh in downtown LA, and I'll be teaching you how to use tarot as a mirror. So in this workshop, I'm going to be guiding you through the first 22 cards of the deck, which is the major arcana, and it's going to show you really your soul's evolution. It's going to show you the life lessons that you're going to be learning. It really changes your perspective in the way that you see life. It can really change your relationship with the challenges that you're going through and the things that are happening in your life, and really give you a sense of peace, of clarity, and more meaning in your life when you understand this. Now, aside from everything that I'm going to be teaching you, which is all going to be in the event description down in the link in the description box, aside from all this, you're also going to be able to connect with your community. These are all going to be people who are interested in the same thing, so you don't have to be afraid of coming out of the broom closet. I know how that feels. This is going to be a really beautiful, safe, and fun space where you can dive deeper into your spiritual curiosities, into tarot, into yourself, and come out of it with some friends as well. I hope you can make this event because it's going to be really fun, but in case you can't, you can join the waitlist down in the description box below for my upcoming course where I'm going to teach you all about how to use tarot for practical living. And if this video wasn't enough to show you just how deep tarot can go into your personal life, just wait until you see all the other things that tarot can do. So with that, friends, again, thank you so much for joining in. I really want to take the time and the space to thank you for being here, whether you've been with me for just this one episode on YouTube or on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. If you've been with me for years, if you remember when this podcast was called Find Your Freedom, I just really want to thank you for being here. I appreciate all the time and energy that you guys put into this, into sharing this podcast, reviewing it. I have a 5-star rating on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and that's just amazing after all the years of doing this, for sharing it with your friends and for coming to my events, for being on my email list, like anything that you have done to be a part of my world. I really appreciate you being here, genuinely. So thank you so much for all this love and support. And until next time, stay well and listen to your soul whispers.